Good morning and welcome to the few of you who have joined us so far in person. Just a moment, I'm going to do something about that feedback. And there's an increasing number of you joining us live via Zoom. We'll also be recording this and putting it up on YouTube later. This morning we have the second talk in the series of 8 on dialogue with death, delving into the Katha Upanishad and the discussion between Nachiketa and the god of death, Yama. Sridharaprana will be giving the full 8 talks, which will go right up until November. And this morning we're going to, Sridharaprana will commence delving into the second chapter of the Katha Upanishad. So I'll request her to now come and give her talk.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may Brahman protect us both, that's a student and the taught. May Brahman nourish us, bestowing upon us both the fruit of knowledge. May we both obtain the energy to acquire knowledge. May what we both study reveal the truth. May we cherish no ill feeling towards each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Paramatmane Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidyacharya Nachiketa Secha. Om, salutations to the God of death, the Blessed One, the son of Vivaswan, the teacher of Brahma Vidya, that is the science of God, as also to Nachiketa. In the last study, we saw Yama trying to dissuade Nachiketa to ask questions about life after death. He wanted to know the genuineness of the pupil. So he subjected him to the severest test, which ordinary human beings would have failed. But Nachiketa was made of a different element. So he withstood all the temptations and he stuck to his boon, which is he wanted to know the secret of death. Seeing the disciple very competent, the death, god of death, so decided to teach him. Since the knowledge of the Atman is very subtle, you need to have a certain foundation for it. And as a foundation, as an introduction to the subject, he brings the concept of Shreya and prayer. Let's see what it is. I will read a few mantras. It will not be possible for us to go through all the mantras. Wherever it is, I'll try to read it. The rest we will just skip off. Not skipping the meaning of that, but then the shlokas. First, I will omit it. He says, good is one thing, the pleasant another. The good is one thing, the pleasant another. And they both, serving different needs, bind a man. Anyat shreyo, anyat uta eva prayaste, ubhe nanarthe, Purusham Sinitaha. Sinitaha means bind. They both bind. It's not that Shreyas will give me the knowledge of the Atman. They both bind. But Tayoho Shreya Adadanasya Sadhu Bhavati. It goes well with him who of the two takes the good. Hiyate arthat ya u preyo vrinite. But he who chooses the pleasant misses the end. The first one you can put it. But it's very simple. We human beings always come across these two choices. Choices about the good and the pleasant. What is beneficial, what is very pleasant. So Shreyascha Preyascha Manushyaam Etat Tau Samparitya Vivinakti Dhiraha Shreyo hi dhiro Abhipreyaso Vrinite Preyo Mando Yogakshema Vrinite. It says both the good and the pleasant present themselves to a man. We all go through the situation. These two comes. The choice is very difficult, especially the choices between good and good. Both seem apparently good, but you need to have tremendous fine intelligence to understand the difference between good and the good. Good and the bad, everyone knows it. But the good and the good, you need extra intelligence, a finer intelligence, a purer intelligence. So when they present themselves to a man, the calm, the discerning person examines them both. He prefers the good to the pleasant, but the fool chooses the pleasant out of greed and avarice. It's yoga kshema is a technical term. Later on will come up. Now we have got the Upanishad is dealing with two terms, Shreya and Preya. Preya, what's Preya? The term means that which is pleasant, immediately attractive, immediate gratification rather. Something seems very beautiful, I just can't resist. I just grab it. This is how the business goes on. The advertisement, we see immediately, very attractive, just we go. Whether it is useful for us, whether we need it or not, very few people think over. Anyway, happiness, pleasant, prayer is the happiness. It does give happiness. If not, no one would have gone to it. Happiness arising from the sensual satisfaction, the titillation of the senses. If this is all the be all and end all of life, then it shows that we have not very much moved from our creatureliness, from our animal level. Because animals have only three things: ahar, nidra, maithun. Hunger, sleep, reproduction. That's it, nothing. So along with other creatures, we do share this. But what makes us different creatures? The ability to discern. Shankara says in his Viveka Chudamani, devoid of this, a human being is nothing but an animal. It is this capacity the nature has endowed us. As we have progressed through all the evolutionary process, when we reach to this highest state or highest state, whatever you might, I prefer to call it human being, highest, not even God's, they fall short of the ideal. But human beings are the true who have reached the highest ideal of evolution. And there, the nature has endowed us with this capacity to discern. This cerebral system evolved when the human being came into the picture. So nature has already endowed us. We haven't used it to the fullest extent of the cerebral system. So hence, prayer, if this prayer continued or if it goes to a certain extent Everyone has. We as human beings, we do love to have the pleasures of life. No doubt, nothing. But beyond certain extent, it is not conducive for human evolution. Rather, it becomes, what do you call, unethical. We know how people fall into the trap and fall from the values. So hence prayer is below ethics. Ethical value begins with parting from the prayer. When we say goodbye to prayer and enter into Shreya. So this is what he says. Shreya is another term, which means that which is conducive to our true welfare, for our true well-being, ultimately beneficial. Then we ascend from the organic or sense level to a mental, aesthetic senses, finer delights of life. And then slowly we go step by step to spiritual dimensions, step by step, liberating all the human values. There are wonderful human values are there: compassion, caring, sharing. All these values are human values. Slowly we start evolving and ultimately we reach to a stature, highest stature of our true selfhood. So Shreya thinks of collective welfare. Prayer thinks of itself. It can go down so much, it need not even think of one's wife and children. So selfish one can become. That is the extremeness of prayer. But when Shreya comes, we think of in terms of collective welfare, awareness of higher aesthetics, joys, satisfactions. It's all not about I, it's about we. We include others and slowly we expand all the social organizations which are there in the world. For example, marriage. What is it for? To expand. The young lady is all about herself. When she is married, someone else comes into her life. See? Then she thinks of her husband. Then comes the family. See how she has reduced herself. And she has expanded and expanded. So that is the nature's way of making us broader. But we end up just with genetics. We don't evolve into spiritual mothers. A genetic mother, all the creatures are there. If every creature has this privilege. But it is our prerogative to be spiritual mothers. So we transcend our genetic limitations and include everyone. There is no bar for age, gender, creature, everything, plants, animals, everyone is included in this affection of motherhood. Holy Mother is the best example. She's just behind me. And so prayer demands the freedom of the senses. Shreya demands the freedom from the senses. The prayer submerges the self of the man into the darkness of avidya. But whereas the Shreya, it lifts from the darkness and then towards the knowledge of our spiritual awareness. Both of them bind. This Shreya, the next.
Next slide.
Yes. We can apply this Shreya to different levels of our lives. I told you from our own lives, it intimately connected with us, that's fine. Then we broaden and broaden in our communities. When we share and care for our communities, we have expanded. We think of the good of the community. If this is good of the community, then I reject it. And if this is for the good of all, just apply it, especially in organization. And it's even in the religious organization, when people become big, naturally, if they are not in the proper line, human beings are subject to errors. When the personality outgrows the organization, then see, there also you have got to discriminate prayers and shreyas. Put the organization in before. If it is for the good of the organization, I stand back. This happens. In so many ways we can apply. And now this is our greatest problem of climate change. See, beneficial versus prayers. Just now what we as the politicians and the great people in whose hands our planet is, what are they doing? Just thinking of the present. Economy, economy, economy. For the sake of an economy, they can even take a lump of coal and say coal is good. We saw it, isn't it? In our parliament. And say, can you imagine what foolishness it is? Just think of the present. What are we going to give for the posterity? No wonder that little girl stood up. Where will be the planet for us? So just think of the present. That is prayers, immediate gratification. We want now. Think at least for 50 years later, what will happen? That far-sightedness. We know the animals cannot have a far-sightedness and foresight. What about us? We humans need to have it. It's in our hands. And all this climate change, global warming, and all this, we see how the havoc the nature is taking on us. It was not that floods and these things weren't there. It was, but the frequency, how quickly they are coming, and what sort of fires we have, the floods, and throughout the world, everywhere, every country. And look how it is. Look at this and look at that. This is prayer and this is shreya. This is how it goes. How about the next one? So this, and what? They say, yes, we want economy, economy, economy. In the name of economy, what are we doing? We yield to harmful consumerism in the name of economy. Unbridled acquisition, enjoyment. You see how many animals have become extinct only to care for our own joy. How many animals are killed so that we will have a very nice, good, beautiful garments and what all they wear, that fluffy one. How many animals are we sacrifice? How many animals have become extinct just because of our greed, our prayer? This is prayer. If we think posterity will not even know, so many animals have become extinct. Our children will not know in future. Already now children do not know in India what vultures are. Vultures have become extinct. Why? Because of this. So so it's left for us, the other one, the one with the hand. So it is left into our hands. In our hands it is. What are we going to give for the future? Are we going to still persist in our crazy way of prayers, following the prayers at a path, or we think of shreyas for the good of the planet? The planet is in our hand. It is in our hand. What we are going to give? Are we going to give a lush, green, beautiful earth or a desert? Anyway, 50 years will tell us what we are going to do. Not much. We are quite near to it. So, Nachiketa, but Yama was a very good teacher. When he found that Nachiketa was a fit candidate, he was full of praise. He says, Sattvam priyan priyarupamshcha kaman abhidhyayan Nachiketo atyasrakshihi naitan sinkram vittamayim avapto yasya majjanti bahavo manushyaha. O Nachiketa, after pondering well the pleasures of the senses, that is, he showed both the joys of the earth and the joys of the heavens. Now you can have the full enjoyment. After that, you can go to the heavens and enjoy. So both he showed. So if Nachiketa wanted, he could have had it. Up to the brim, he could have enjoyed. No problem. Go and enjoy again in the heavens, he could have. But Nachiketa had such an intelligence, he could understand that which doesn't stay for tomorrow is no good. And whether it's earthly enjoyment or heavenly enjoyment, it's one and the same. But other thing is there. It's not just the impermanence of enjoyment. The more I enjoy, the more the desire will become stronger. So it will be hard. It will be very difficult for us to get, especially when we enjoy the higher joys of the heavens and we come back, because no one can stay permanently in the heaven. Kshine punya marte loke vishanti. Sri Krishna has told in the Gita. We'll come back. And we come back, we might not get the same enjoyments, but our thirst for enjoyment has increased. So that is the great danger about it. It's nothing wrong once we enjoy. If one can enjoy with a detachment, fine. But that doesn't happen with the generality of the mankind. So that is why he says, you could see it and you just brushed aside. Amazing intelligence. And he says, Duramete viparite vishuchi avidyaya cha vidyeti jnata. Vidyabhipsinam nachiketasam manne natva kama baho lolupanta. He says, wide and leading to different ends. As I told you, prayer and Shreya are two different. That is, prayer is ignorance, Shreya is knowledge. How? I told you, both bind us. Can I have that heavens one? The one before you put. Yeah. See, this one who perceives the prayer, ultimately, if we don't have a limit for it, we will go lower and lower in the scale of evolution. Ultimately, will ruin. But if you take Shreya, follow the path of Shreya, you can go higher and higher and higher. But going to higher or coming to lower is not our business. It's not our, what do you call? That's not what we are seeking. We are seeking freedom. Freedom from the suffering and infinite joy. This is the thing. Freedom from the sorrow, every creature does, isn't it? Even if an ant is going, you put a drop of water in front of the ant. What does it do? It avoids. It takes a turn. Why? It avoids the danger. We avoid misery. It's natural. It's instinctively we avoid misery. Why? Because misery is alien. It's something different from our nature. Our nature is pure, blissful, sat, chit, ananda. Ananda is our very nature. It is this ananda which is prompting us to seek. What the scriptures are saying is, you are right. When you are seeking ananda, you are right. But your direction to your ananda is not right. That's what they are saying, nothing else. No one is asking me not to stop enjoying. You enjoy, but at the same time, with detachment. Isha Upanishad says, Tena tektena bhunjita. Enjoy through detachment. I should be able to detach myself immediately when I see, but I should not become a victim to it. I should not become slave to an enjoyment. I enjoy things as a master. When something goes wrong, I am ready to withdraw myself from it. I will not become miserable to that particular enjoyment if I am deprived. This should be the mastery. This is what the Upanishad is teaching us. Upanishads are teaching us for us to be the masters of ourselves. That is what happens. So our ideal is neither heavens nor hells. We are not interested in both. Our ideal is path to eternal bliss. This is the right path. For this, but the goal is through Shreya. No one from the prayers can jump. It's through Shreyas. The Shreya will teach me to slowly give up things, and it will liberate me from all my finitudeness. That's the important. Here two things are important. Abhidhyayan, he said. Abhidhyayan means discernment. You have cultivated, the knives, when we want, we sharpen it. When we sharpen, then it can cut. One go it can cut. So when it's a blunt knife, can never. So a blunt intelligence can never penetrate into a situation, a thing, and understand what it is. But when the intelligence is always rubbed, like how we rub the knife, when the intelligence is sharpened through discernment. Discernment is the weapon through which I sharpen the intelligence. Then I understand clearly. Nothing can hide from it. Anything which comes, it will show what it's. I can, within a minute, I can make out what it, I can evaluate its value. That's the capacity we get through discernment. Slowly we start practicing, little by little, step by step. Swamiji said, an ounce of practice is better than tons of tall talks. Even an ounce of practice. So that's very important. And just not enough discernment. One needs to have strong willpower to brush it aside. That is what Nachiketa had it. So if this is not there, what about the fate of the people who don't have that? And not only that, they don't have, that is okay, who pride themselves. What's their condition? That is what he's telling. Yeah. Avidyayamantare vartamanaha swayam dhira panditam manyamanaha dandramyamana padiyanti mudha andhenaiva niyamana yatandaha. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha. They are absorbed in the fools dwelling in the very midst of ignorance, but fancying themselves as wise and learned. They go round and round, staggering to and fro, like the blind leading to the blind. Look at this person is blind. If he is blind, that's okay. We cannot help it. And he's offering help to another blind man. And then both will fall into ditch. This is what happens. Look how wonderful I am. I'm a billionaire. How I think. Think like me. Don't pay my taxes. Cheat. And that's the intelligence you want to write book and spread your intelligence. As if the intelligence are not less in the world. This is how people think. And they call themselves to be very intelligent because they have evaded the taxes. Billionaires. See? And then what? They pride themselves. So this is that Panditam Manya. This Panditam Manya, Sri Ramakrishna says a very beautiful story. Just because the subject is very too hard and dry, you will sleep away. Let me tell you a story. Sri Ramakrishna says, in the Ganges, the boats go, village boats, country boats. So they have to row. It's not mission run. So once the people were traveling, and there was a scholar, this Pandita Manya, this type of scholars priding their knowledge. So he was there and he wanted to show off his knowledge. And long distance they have to travel. So he asked a neighbor who was sitting, co-passenger, hello, Mr. So-and-so. Oh, so have you read the Vedanta? Poor man hasn't heard about it. No, sir. Oh, have you read Sankhya? No, revered, sir. What about Patanjala? Nyaya? Oof, poor man, he doesn't know anything. He's a very ordinary man. And this man was trying and making himself known to everybody that he's a scholar. He has read Vedanta and Sankhya and Patanjala and all that. Poor man. There's all the other passengers also, they were sitting quietly because they didn't know anything. Suddenly there was a storm. And we know in Calcutta we have seen, we call it Kal Vaishakhi. Oh, the deadly storm. A small patch in the corner of the direction, in one direction it is there. In minutes, it will envelop. I have seen in Shardaman, we may be doing Arati. Suddenly the storm will come in such a way, you don't have time. It will even put the photos down, the shrine. So once I hurried and went to close it down and I fell down. Because so fast the breeze, it's very, very dangerous. So in the Ganges, suddenly this Kal Vaishakhi must have come and the little country boat started rocking. And then the passenger said, sir, do you know to swim? Oh, Pandit said, oh no, I don't know. I do not know Vedanta, Sankhya and Patanjala, but I know to swim. So the man jumped and saved himself. Anyway, Sri Ramakrishna doesn't tell what happened to the Pandit. So that's what is happened. What happens is we need to have that intelligence to understand what is good and what is bad, what is right, what is less right, and make our way. Because this is the only time, here and now, when I'm having this psychophysical organism, through this I have to free myself. I have to achieve my eternal happiness through this body and mind. So I have to work for it. I have to be up and doing. Here or now. Nowhere, now or never. And so this is what happens. Too much of knowledge, it will ruin. And he says, the next, न सांपराय प्रतिभाति बालम प्रमाद्यंतम वित्तमोहेन मूढ़म अयम लोको नास्ति पर इति मानि पुनः पुनः वशमापद्यते मे. The truth of the hereafter does not shine before the child, that child who is inattentive and be fooled by the delusion of wealth. This world, that is the world seen by the senses, this alone exists and no other. Thinking thus, he falls into my trap, in my clutches again and again. See, Sanskrit is a language of cultured. Samskrita means culture, the language of gods. It does not have any abusive words, but it has two. That is, balaha, mudaha. Children, foolish. These are the only two words. And when the scriptures use this, they are very serious about it. It's a serious thing. So they are using harsh words. They are what? Children, foolish. These are the only two abusive words in Sanskrit. I can't call it an abusive word, but still, it means when the Upanishads use this, they really mean it. So here Yama is telling, these children, they make too much of their wealth because they don't have anything else. So what they think, naturally they think of too much of their wealth. There are people, it is unintelligence to say that there is nothing, such a thing called as after death, or there is nothing such a thing called as God. If you are intelligent, if you are scientific, you cannot deny higher power, I tell you. Only true scientists, true intelligent, really people seeking, they only cannot, they can affirm, yes, there is something called as higher reality. All half knowledge is dangerous. So I've seen people, I mustn't tell, someone had some problem. So the mother brought the child, daughter to us. And they had a problem. And yes, we said, we will try our best. We'll pray for you. Everything will be all right. Don't worry. We just consoled and we really tried our best to pray for the good of the girl. What happens is not that because we prayed that something good happened to her. What happens is when you pray, all the obstacles that are there, the forces which would have become an obstacle to the attainment, whatever they wanted, those obstacles are removed. That's all. When these obstacles are removed, you gain. There are so many forces behind every action we take it for granted, but so many forces are there which acts on it. So pray, what does prayer do? It removes the negative influences, negative forces, and thereby allows what you need, whatever you wanted, you get it. So that's what we did. We prayed, let all the obstacles that are in her way to attaining that particular need, let her get it. We prayed and she got it. Such is the, I don't call it ungratefulness or whatever. I don't know. Then the mother wanted the girl to go and say thanks to Sri Ramakrishna. Oh, we don't believe in all these things. Can you imagine? When you needed a problem, you had a problem, you came. When you got it, you say you don't believe. So such is the small-mindedness, unintelligence. I don't call it intelligence. If people are intelligent, they will never deny it. So that's why he says, na samparaya pratibhati balam. They're children. Intelligence is that only of 5-6 years old children. They don't know what is balam. Why? The child doesn't know what is good and bad. It may go and put its finger in the fire and thereby burn its finger. It doesn't know that it shouldn't put. Once it gets burnt, then it understands, oh, this will burn. So hita ahita, what is good, what is not good, the child doesn't understand. So is this. That's why he's saying they don't understand it. And we have got wealth. The pride of wealth is so much. Sri Ramakrishna says, a frog got a silver coin. It found a silver coin. So it took the silver coin to its hole and kept it. And it was very happy. How wonderful silver coin I'm having. I don't know. Don't ask me whether the frog knows it, but the full story says it knows silver. And then it was very happy that it had a silver coin. One day, an elephant passed by its hole. And the frog got very angry. How dare you pass through my hole? It came and kicked the elephant from the back. And then it went inside and started admiring its silver coin. Can you imagine the stupidity of the frog? So such is the foolishness of people who have wealth and consider that to be great. There's nothing more than this. So he is comparing them to children. And what about far and apart? There are some people who want to know what is there. Maybe out of inquisitiveness, or there might be some search within them. They're searching for something higher. All sorts of things are there. There is gradation, and there are really genuine people who want, like Nachiketa. So about them, he's saying, Shravanayapi bahubiryona labhya. This knowledge of Atman is so unique, so subtle. Even if you hear, even to hear, it is not available. How many people are there in this planet? How few understand about the Atman? How few people get the opportunity to hear about it? So, Shravanayapi bahubiryo na labhya. And even if they get it, can't comprehend. They think, what is she blabbering something? God knows what she is saying. Anyway, I have come, let me listen to it and go. Oh, enough. So, can't understand. Because the intelligence is used to thinking in terms of gross things. The subtle things, it's very hard for it to understand. So it takes time. It's a question of time. And then, Shrunantopi bahavo yamna vidyuhu. Even if they hear, it's very difficult to understand. Why? Because of its subtlety. And a teacher should be very talented. Ashcharyo vakta kushalosya labdha. Ashcharyo jnata kushalanushishtha. The uniqueness of the knowledge of Atman is where it's not an outcome of intellectual understanding or subtleties. Rather, it is a product of spiritual illumination, which calls for higher moral qualities like truthfulness, purity, detachment, dedication, devotion to truth. All these things, when we start cultivating, then we get the ability to understand about the self, our true self. And we know, we have been hearing about the teacher and the taught. I'm not going to deep into it. A teacher, what sort of a teacher we should have? One who knows the spirit of the scripture, not the letter of the scripture. Spirit of the scripture, who is sinless, who has a pure character, who is not smitten by desire, and who has found his peace in higher reality, and all his passions are burnt away. Like, when the fire burns and the fuel is completely burnt, it becomes calm. No more fuel is there, no more fire. So like that, nirindhana, ivanala, and then compassion. That's the great thing. Ahetuka daya sindhu he'll be. He has infinite compassion. He has nothing to gain, but still when he sees someone is suffering, he goes out of his way to help. This is the characteristic of a true teacher. What about the student? Does student have? Of course. He must have, the first thing is the capacity to discern. If he doesn't have that discernment, he will go on like and enjoy. No, he should know what is good and what is beneficial. And he should have the strong will to give up whatever is not conducive for his evolution. And he should have the calmness of mind, controlling of his senses, withdrawing himself within and reside there, meditating. All these virtues, and above all, mumukshutva, the desire for liberation. No more slavery. No more slavery for anything. I want to be a free man. We want democracy. Why? We are free. We will be free. We have this freedom of speech. Everything is free there. That's why we love democracy. So here is a greater democracy, free from all the forces. Vedanta is democracy in its highest sense. So democracy treats the dignity of man, and Vedanta cares for the divinity of man. Dignity and divinity. Democracy and Vedanta. It's all goes in same line. And so, if he has this desire, then it becomes easy. Then Yama is saying, this intelligence which you're having, Nachiketa had this tremendous intelligence, this is wonderful intelligence. This Atman can never be comprehended if taught by an inferior person. Now there are a lot of gurus. Any professor in philosophy becomes a guru because he knows he can give talks, he can understand, but there is no yama niyama, there is no moral disciplines. So what happens? If he becomes a guru, he cannot withstand the adoration what the people give, the honor what they give, and along with honor comes wealth, and then he will misuse it, and then he will become immoral. We have seen many gurus like that. There are lots. There's no dearth for such gurus. So if this Atman, if we become victim to them, if we become disciples of them, then Sri Ramakrishna says a frog, a ordinary frog, when it eats a snake, when it eats a frog, it can neither eat it nor throw it. So the trouble, the suffering is for the frog. But if a cobra had to bite, within 3 seconds, it will die. So it's better to fall into the hands of a good teacher and get our egos crushed rather than persisting on it. Do I have enough time, Robert? Good. Anyway, so if it is taught by an inferior person, it will not have any impact. And because the concept of the Atman is very subtle, the knowledge of Atman is very subtle, and so many people have different ideas, so much of confusion arises when we do not know properly. Half knowledge is dangerous, I told you. So, an inferior teacher, if he teaches, it won't help us. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, there was a teacher in the Brahmo Samaj by name Samadhyayi. You know what he said? He was talking to his congregation and he said, God is a dry person. Through your love and affection, you have to sweeten him. Can you imagine? He's saying God is a dry person. And the Shruti, the scripture says, Raso Vaisaha. He is the very essence of everything. If this world is enjoyable, he is the very enjoyment, he is the essence of that joy. To such a God, he is saying he is dry. That means to say the person doesn't know anything about God. Like as somebody said, my uncle's cowshed is full of horses. Now, horses don't stay in cowshed. They stay in stable. So that means you said there is neither the horses nor the cows. So this is how it becomes. They talk irrationally, irrelevantly. Those who do not know. But those who know what is what, they will lead us. So we should be very fortunate to have a right type of teacher. That's a very great thing. It's a blessing to have a right teacher. So Yama is telling this intelligence which you have got, this is not acquired through logical reasoning. I may be a PhD student. I may be very intelligent. That intelligence is not this intelligence. There's entirely different. These two intelligences are very different. Why? Because this knowledge of the Atman is very subtle and it is not subject to argumentation, tarka. Logical reasoning won't do. You need to have a different type of, entirely a different intelligence. What sort of intelligence? Buddhi, philosophical reasoning. Logical reasoning, philosophical are two different things. Logical reasoning, any intelligent person, any PhD student, any academic can have it. But to have a philosophical has a different texture. It has got a different metal of itself. So that is why he says this intelligence which you have got, this is not acquired through this type of logical reasoning. And he says, but because it's very subtle and not subject to reasoning. Now, we say Vedanta is a Jnana Marga and it is based on reason, isn't it? We all want scientific reason. We want to be very scientific in our approach to truth and all that. And we want to apply the reason, isn't it? This is how we want. We don't want some Tom, Dick and Harry telling something, or we don't want superstition. That's fine. Vedanta says, I don't deny intelligence and logical reasoning is very, very needed and essential. It does not repudiate reason. Reason has a place in Vedanta. It encourages. He says, think, vichar. Sri Ramakrishna says in the gospel, vichar. Again and again, you reason out. What is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. Every time we need to, every step of our life, we have got to reason out. So Vedanta rather encourages us to reason. How much? To the extent the reason can go. Reason is not all in all. To the extent reason can go. Swamiji says here, let me quote Swamiji. To get any reason out of the mass of incongruity we call human life, we have to transcend our reason. But, Swamiji cautions us, we must do it scientifically, slowly, and by regular practice. Not one day I started reasoning and said, it's okay, nothing is there in it. No, constant practice is needed. And we must cast off all superstitions. We should not have any bias. Unbiased, we have to approach to the truth. And then, without cast of all superstition, we must take up the study of superconscious state, just as any other science. See, no contradiction. Nothing. Vedanta is very consistent with science. So we must have to lay our foundation on reason. So we must follow reason as far as it leads. And when reason fails, reason itself will show you. Go this way. You will reach it. I can't go. That's my limitation. But I point out to you something there is. Swamiji says, physics, yes, go. Go to the physics. What science says? Unity. Let physics take to you to the ultimate. Then it will go into metaphysics. This is how it goes. It transcends. And Swamiji says, three things: instinct, reason, intuition. These are the three things. They are not contradictory. They're complementary to each other. One fulfills the other. Instinct fulfills the reason. Reason fulfills, ultimately matures into transcendent, inspiration, intuition. So this is very important to hold on to reason as much as possible. So that what happens, when we give up reason, then we become fanatic, superstitious, and what do you call bigotry. These evils will enter into us. So always have be scientific enough, be logical enough, reason, hold on to reason. If not, yes, there's a high heaven there. And if I kill you, I'll go to heaven. This sort of things will come. So always see, apply the reason. Is it true? Then reason will tell, no, that's not the path. So this is how, that's what we have to hold on. And he says, Yama says a very beautiful word. He says, Naisha tarkena matiraka prokta anyenaiva sujnanaya preshta yam tvamapa satyadritir batasi. Why I am telling this satyadritir batasi? Batasi means, bata means, oh my child, Yama is so full of love for Nachiketa because such a competent student he has got. Like how Sri Ramakrishna was so fond of Narendra. You know, the love wells up in the heart of the Guru, wants to pour out everything to you. He says, my child, the intelligence that you have got, this sort of intelligence is not acquired very easily. Your will is yoked to truth. Satyadhriti. This is what we want. Satyadhriti. Our dhriti means will. Our will has to be yoked to truth. And this is what in the Gita Shri Krishna says, Satvika dhriti, dhrityayaya dharayate, mana pranendriya kriya, yogenya avyabhicharinya, unswavering fortitude. That's called as Satvika dhriti. He says, your will is yoked to truth. How do we achieve this type of will? How do we achieve this dhriti? This strong will which is yoked to truth? How do we achieve this philosophical reasoning? By acquiring spiritual strength that comes from one-pointed devotion to truth. This is what is important. Swami Vivekananda says, here is the test of truth. Anything that makes you physically, intellectually, spiritually weak, reject it as poison. There is no life in it. It cannot be true. Truth is strengthening. Truth is purity. Truth is all knowledge. Truth is unity. Truth leads to unity. So to yoke the will to truth is the greatest thing that we as humans can do with our wills. It is the beginning, the middle, the end of all our spiritual and moral training. And Yama confesses, even he didn't have, he says, the teachers are always like that. Even if they see little bit good in the disciple, they say, oh, you're so wonderful. Even I don't have that much of strength. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, he's so wonderful, even I don't have. So that encouraging the disciple. Here he says, Yama, he confesses, I'm not going to the Sanskrit verses because we'll be too late, that in spite of this knowledge that eternal can never be attained by non-eternal. One thing, finite can never understand infinite, and infinite alone will understand infinite. If I'm having a small bowl, can I put 1 liter of milk in it? It will overflow. It can only hold that much. So in order to put 1 liter of milk, I need to have a big bowl. So if I want to comprehend infinite, my mind has to become infinite. And can the mind ever become infinite? No. Mind can never be. Mind is within the framework of finite. Space, time, and causation. It can never. But you can dissolve the mind. No mind. When we remove the mind, infinite. Or when the transparency of the mind is so fine, it just, the awareness comes in. It just goes into it. That is what Sri Ramakrishna said. Pure mind, pure buddhi, pure intelligence, Atman is one and the same. When the mind becomes pure, it reflects completely the light. Rather, the mind ceases to be a mind then. So that is why he is saying infinite things cannot be acquired through finite things. But Emma also did a lot of ritualistic sacrifices, and thereby he became Yama, the god of death. So he got a higher post. So his love of truth was also diluted by this external achievement, promotion from human to God. So he had advanced his promotion. So, but whereas Nachiketa, he just brushed aside, nothing doing. I want only that truth. So this grit he had, Nachiketa. So Nachiketa's intelligence is what we have to learn from this Upanishad. We are all our sadhakas. To certain degrees, we all have. But once our intelligence becomes just like Nachiketa, then like a fruit in our palm, we have the knowledge of Atman in our hand. And then he says, at last, slowly he's coming, what the Atman is like. Tam durdharsham ghudam anupravishtam guhahitam gauhareshtam puranam adhyatma yoga dhigamena devam matva dhiro harshashokau jahati. The wise person relinquishes the joy and the sorrows when he realizes through meditation on the inner self, that ancient effulgent, hard to be seen, profound, hidden in the experience, established in the cavity of the heart, residing within this body. Truth is not there. Truth is not here. Truth is here. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Okhane, okhane, again. Ekhane, ekhane, again. There is ignorance. Here is knowledge, Sri Ramakrishna used to say. So what you want is here. How do? Thank God it is here. If it is very far, people would have monopolized it, taken away. It would not meet. Because Atman is within here, we are safe. We have it in our hands. We can. Our evolution is in our hand. So very difficult to be, this Atman is very difficult to be seen. Why? Ati sukshmatvat, very subtle, Shankara says, due to its extreme subtlety. But that doesn't mean to say that you will not know the Atman. No, it is not unknown or unknowable like the agnostics. It's the very basic principle of our awareness. I exist. No one need to tell me that I exist. Yes, I exist. What can be more than that? I exist, I know, but I do not understand what exactly I am. There the difference. My understanding of myself is mixed with confusion, doubt. I do not know exactly what I am. I know I am. I am. None need tell me that. It's a fact, but I do not know what I am truly. That's the difficulty. That's what he's saying. Still, the self is hardly noticed. See, it is known through every act of perception. In every act of cognition, we have this cognizer. We have this perceiver. But so much of things are put on it. The outer world is so absorbing that we lose the sight of the observer, one who is observing. So what happens is, Shankara says, Prakrita Vishaya Vikara Vijnana Prachannam, hidden in the process of ordinary sense-bound knowledge. Sense perceptions are so enthralling that we lose sight of who is perceiving, the perceiver. So, Gauhareshtam, that means it's Guha, in the cavity of the heart. He is there, inaccessibly located, in a difficult region, very painful. Lot of struggle we have to go through in order to understand. And how? Through Adhyatma Yoga, that is through meditation. This is the supreme technique of spiritual life. By moral and spiritual discipline, the mind sheds its finitude, its limitations, its creatureliness, its narrowness. It sheds and merges in that infinite self. When we know that, we are happy. Etat shutva samparigrihya martya pravrajika dharmyam anureshamapya sa modate modaniyam hi labdhva vivritam sadma nachiketa sammanye. It's a beautiful thing. The mortal man rejoices, having heard and comprehended well this subtle truth, the soul of dharma, realized it after proper discrimination, and having attained what is verily the blissful. See, the blissful. I consider that the house of truth is wide open for Nachiketa. To hear about this truth is Shravana. To grasp it through proper understanding, that is Manana. And finally, to realize it in life is Nididhyasana. Illumination comes through constant pondering, constant hearing. The scriptures teach us just like how we teach the children. Say thanks, say thanks. Children do not know how to say thanks. When you give something to the little child, it just takes. So what we do? Say thanks, say thanks. This is the mantra we say. Repeat. Teaching. So that's how the scripture says. You are not the body. You are not the body. You are something higher than that. You are something more precious than that. You are something wonderful than that. So the scriptures are telling again and again, just like children. Because to the scriptures, for the Shruti, we are little children. It calls us Shrunvanta Vishve Amritasya Putraha, O children of immortality. Such a wonderfully he called, the scriptures call us. Anyway, so when you hear about this Atman and think it deeply and understand it, see, dharmyam, anyone cannot just realize the Atman. Strong moral foundation is very, very necessary. It is not different from dharma. This is what gives holiness, value, gravity to this knowledge. So when one realizes, one is free. I'll tell you, first when I read Swami Vivekananda's complete works, there may not be any realization or anything, but the joy that I got, I just cannot. Even now, yesterday I was talking to Gayatri Panaji and telling him, so immense joy. I just couldn't sleep first time when I heard the story of the lion and the sheep, story. Sri Ramakrishna says that a lion went and pounced on a flock of sheep, and she was carrying. So in that attempt, she gave birth to a cub and died. The cub grew along with the other sheep, and it started thinking of itself as a sheep. And it grew, it ate grass, it bleated like the sheep. Then it grazed along with the other sheep in the forest. And another lion came, and it looked at this grass-eating lion. It was surprised. How come this lion is eating grass? And when it came closer, all the sheep ran, and this also ran, bleating. And it's amazing it was. How could this happen? This is a lion, and it is bleating like a sheep and eating the grass like a sheep. So it waited its opportunity. One day when this sheep lion was dozing under the tree, this forest lion, wild lion went and caught it. And it started bleating, frightened. Then he dragged him. You are a lion. Why are you bleating like a sheep? It's below your dignity. No, I am a sheep. He said, no, come. You are not a sheep. You are a lion. Come here. He pulled and he took it to the water, to the pond, and said, look at your image, your reflection. Look at my reflection. Doesn't it look like me? You are a lion. And it thrust a bit of meat into the mouth. At first it refused to eat because it's used to eating grass, and it couldn't. But later on, it got the taste of blood. Then it started eating. Then now, stop bleating, roar. Then it started roaring. When it doesn't come out, the voice doesn't come out, it has been bleating, it can't roar. Then through practice, then it started rolling. Then how? The Upanishad says, there's a Sanskrit word, Nirgachanti Jagad Jala Pinjara Diva Kesari. You come out of the den or the net of the world and roar like a Kesari. That's the Vedanta Kesari. The lion of Vedanta will come out. So that is the joy we get. So when I first read this story, I was so happy. I tell you truth. I just couldn't sleep that night. Would jump and say, what is this I have heard? First time I am hearing about it. Such a joy it gave. Then what? Imagine about persons who have got all the necessary qualification for the attainment of the self, and they attain that infinite, their infinite existence, that infinite awareness, and that infinite bliss. What their condition should be. Amazing, isn't it? It's mind-boggling. Anyway, so Yama is very happy that Nachiketa is indeed right and the door of truth. He has got all the competence for the truth. But this student is very good. Usually when somebody praises us, we will be very elated, we feel very happy. But Nachiketa is not like that. He asks a profound question. He comprises the philosophy into such wonderful phrases. He says, Anyatra dharmad, anyatra dharmad, anyatrasmat, krita krita, anyatra bhutascha bhavyascha, yat yat pashyasi tadvada. Stop praising me. I'm not interested in it. That which is other than the dharma, virtue, and adharma, vice, that which is other than the effect and cause, that which is other than the past and future, present includes. If you know that, tell me that truth. I'm impatient. I want to know about it. Enough of my praise. Tell me that. So that's what Nachiketa is telling. So philosophically, condensedly, he is saying, in the search of reality, which is beyond relativity of virtue and vice, beyond determinism of cause and effect, and time and space, is the real freedom or happiness. The Chandogya Upanishad says, there is no joy in finite. Joy is only in infinite. All relative conditions, even your religious and secular, all karmas, whether it is ritualistic, religious action or a secular action, everything is within the framework of space, time, causality. Desha, Kala, Nimitta. And what is Desha, Kala, Nimitta? This is the Maya, nothing else, world. So all our religious and secular work are within this network. Swamiji says, Maya is a statement of fact. The very basis of our being is contradiction. Wherever there is good, there is evil. We are bound by it. We are awake and sleepy yet. We are philosophers, we are saints, we are sinners, we are demons in it. So Nachiketa is telling, if you have seen this type of thing, that is which is beyond Maya, beyond causation, beyond good and bad, beyond dharma and adharma, you tell me that. So then I think it's enough time. So next we will see what answer our great God of death gives. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. Any questions?
May I ask?
Yes, please.
If the comparison between Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, these are these Yama and Nachiketa. Now, Yama is a god. It's a limited person, limited. We didn't go to the enlightenment. So, how can Yama give the answer to Nachiketa's questions?
Very good, wonderful question, very pertinent question. Yama is the first among the humans who has attained to the complete perfection of moral disciplines. He is so established in Yama and Niyama that he became the god of death. That's the greatness of God Yama. There's absolutely no impurity in him. The self-knowledge is there. Still one can do it. How? For example, we have Janaka. We call him Videha. He did not have body consciousness at all. He always considered himself as a spirit. Yet he was a king. Yet he was a father of Sita. He did all that. You can do it. If without knowledge, when we do it, we become subject to power. Power corrupts us. That power could not corrupt Yama. He always remained a teacher. He had this knowledge of self. At the same time, he did this. Or he might have done the Nachiketa sacrifice first and attained the godhood. But his purity, his unworldly mind revealed the Atman. That's how he became the knowledge of the Brahma Vidya. Acharya he became. Because it is not contradictory. You can be. Because like how we have seen Raja Rishi, especially in the Upanishads, you can see all the rishis, most of the rishis were kings. Especially when you see Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. That's why Swamiji says, kings on the throne have discussed about Vedanta. And beggars on the street have discussed, and the worst among men have hoped for it. So you can be even a god. At the same time, you can be a knower of Brahman too. It will not disturb, because you will not be corrupted by power. You will be able to digest the power rather. If not, if we can't digest, we will become like Indra, afraid somebody will take my Indra Padavi, and we will stoop down to such an extent to, we have heard the stories in the mythology about Indra. Why? Because he is not a knower of Brahman. So what is, every time he is afraid, if someone is doing good work and he is acquiring punya, merits, this person is now going to become the next Indra. So if a next Indra is coming, I'll be kicked out. So somehow I want to hold on the hook or crook. I will put, by any means, I want to hold on to my seat, like how the present politicians backbiting and push him, and I sit. So this power corrupts. Constantly sitting on the seat, don't want to give up the seat. Once you sit, power is such a thing. We become corrupt. But Yama could not be corrupted because he was established in Yama Niyama. If we are completely established in the Yama Niyama, our mind becomes pure, and the pure mind is the guru. It is the real guru. That itself will teach us.
So, not spiritual guru, it's intellectual guru.
No. He is Brahma Vidyacharya.
Yama
is Brahma Vidyacharya.
So, but why he is considered to be a god?
It doesn't matter. What's wrong?
No, God is not.
It needn't have to be. Once, when I know I am infinite, I can act. I can do anything. I know. See, for example, now I know I am a sannyasini. Now, suddenly, for some necessary sake, and I should act some role. But I am aware I am a sannyasini. I know it. For the sake of fun, we do like how we do in our Sharda Math, just to entertain our Matajis. We do all sorts of dances and dramas to entertain our elderly Matajis. And when we act, we really act in such a way. We act in such a way that we are as if we are truly that. But we know that we are not that we are. So in the same way, he is just discharging. He is discharging it with complete detachment. Absolutely. Even if someone becomes an Yama, he is least interested, he'll just go back. He will merge in his thing.
No, we'll wait on the last chapter anyway. So what I feel that Sri Ramakrishna gave his spiritual power to Vivekananda because that's how he is an enlightened person.
No, it is not that Sri Ramakrishna giving in it. No one can go on the wings of somebody. I cannot, even if I preach it. No. Swamiji did it through himself. No one can go on the wings of someone. I have to cultivate my own wings in order to fly. I can't sit always on my mother's bird. Taking powers from others won't do. I have to.
I know that. Yeah. Look, what is the meaning of Ramakrishna when he said, "I gave everything what I had"?
Oh, that is so that he can do the world.
Sorry, what?
There is this called as prachar. The responsibility of preaching bringing this light, you need lot of energy. So he deposited even his energy into him. Swamiji realized his infinite self, but Sri Ramakrishna gave him the whatever is needed, energy, extra energies, whatever, because he is going to finish his Leela. He is going to give up his word. There is so much of energies in his system. So he gave it for the good of the world to use. You remember once what happened before, when Narendra was a disciple, just a sadhaka like any of us. One day Sri Ramakrishna took him to the thing, Panchavati, and he told, look, due to the severe austerities and spiritual discipline, I have acquired immense power within me. And you know, I just can't keep my clothes properly. I am such a person. What will I do with all this power? I'm thinking of giving it to you so that you may. What do you think? Shall I give all this? And Swamiji said, will this power help me in realizing my infinite Atman, my true nature, my Atman, or God realization, whatever it is? Sri Ramakrishna said, oh no, it will not help you in that. But later on, when you will do the preaching work, you will have immense strength for that. He said, sorry, I don't want. He refused. He said, no, I don't want. Because if I get it now, I might misuse it. Because I do not know how to use the power. But when I realize, and if it is need be, then you can give. So he, after his Nirvikalpa Samadhi in Kashipur garden, he realized his Atman when he was in Samadhi. You remember the Gopal, another disciple sitting next to him, he said, Gopal, I don't feel the sensation in my body. Is my body there? Then Gopal ran and told, Naren is dead. Then his Ramakrishna said, let him be in that. He has been troubling me for a long time. He wanted all the obstacles in his path to be removed by Sri Ramakrishna. He was asking a help, that's all. So let him be in that position. So Swamiji realized his own divinity in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. After that, Sri Ramakrishna, every day he used to take Narendra and talk to him hours together, how he has to do this preaching, what sort of people he will be meeting, what will be the obstacles, how he is to organize, how he has to keep the disciples together. All this he discussed, hours together he used to discuss with that pain. And then finally, just before giving up the body within a few days, he handed out completely whatever he gave it. With this work, you will just shake the world. Yes, please.
Sridharaprana, you said the whole talk was about distinguishing between good and good, and the difference being that you have good that occurs over the short term versus good that occurs over the long term. But in a lot of cases, sometimes when you're caught in the moment, you lose sight of the good that's over a longer term. So in terms of practical living, how do you always keep your mind on the long-term good when you really have to, you're kind of caught up in the short-term good?
Yes, it is true. It is very difficult, especially see for example, the crisis that we are going through now. So many people, their life existence is threatened. At such times, it's very difficult. For example, Sri Ramakrishna says, now, he speaks about an ordinary family person. A family person, he has got wife and children, everything. Now he wants to protect them, look after the family. So he needs to take a job. Now he's a spiritual aspirant. I'm just telling within my understanding, because I am not directly into the outer world. So I am less informed about the present conditions or whatever it is. Because I am really, to say, what do you say, I live in the ashrama. It is almost like what sort of nuns we are. Cloistered nuns, like almost if not. So our understanding of the world is very limited. With that, still I'll tell you. So a disciple went to Holy Mother and said, Mother, I am doing this job and I know I have to be unreal, I have to speak falsehood sometimes, which hurts me as a spiritual aspirant, and it hurts me. Now, what am I to do? Should I give up the job? See, good and good. Looking after the family is the first criteria, importance. First concern is looking after the family. Wife and children should not starve. That is the more important for a householder. At the same time, he has a spiritual pursuit, which his intellect tells what he is doing is not right. Holy Mother said, if you had the means, you could have done that, my son. You could have given up the job if you had the means and stuck to taken the. But since you don't have, you don't give up the job. It does not matter, because today you are hesitant to tell lie. Tomorrow, when your family starves, you will not hesitate even to kill a person and rob. See, this is the difference between good and good. You see, looking after the family is a good thing. This is what you need to do it. But when there is a two, we have to make a choice, then we have to put reason. I know, yes, this is not true. This is not correct for me, but I have no other choice. If I don't do that, I'll be going still worst. So this is how Holy Mother, she was very practical. She said, no, don't do it. Because now you are hesitant to tell a lie because you have the means at least to. But when you don't have even that, when it comes to dire poverty, you will not hesitate even to rob and steal and kill a person in order. So this is how we have to find out. Very difficult until and unless, this intelligence constantly practicing, the mind becomes subtle and it can quickly understand the problem and it will guide you. This is where the Swami Brahmananda says, in course of time, your mind itself will become a guru. It'll get that maturity to understand what is immediate uh, good, what is prolonged, in course of time, long term, what is beneficial and what is right now it is needed. But if I can get rid of this, that's fine. I go to it, and then once I get out of it, I stick back. So if I can do, that's fine. If not, it's very difficult. So it is. That is why he says, Yama says, this intelligence which you have got is not easily to be attained. It comes through long practice of discernment. We say less harmful, we will take it. That's all. That's all we can do it. This is less harmful. If I don't do it, I might ultimately do it more. So it's better to go with that. Not that Holy Mother gave license to tell lie, but she said, what you hesitate today, you might not even hesitate later on. So it is better. The first thing is get rid of your poverty to protect it. But don't have underhand business so much. That is so. Instead of just to get rid of the poverty, you need not hoard wealth. Getting rid of the poverty is different, and hoarding is different. Two different things. You need to put the limit. That comes through the constant practice and mind getting used to these things.
Questions?
Can I just ask a minor question? I think it's not a good idea to use the example of blind lead blind, because when you speak about the spiritual discussion or context, we should not give any importance to the physical limitation for a person to be blind.
Well, I do not know. The Rishi has used, not me.
Right?
The Rishi has used. The Brahma Rishis. No, I am just Andhenaiva Niyamana, and that it is given by Brahma Rishis. It's a Vedic item. We cannot alter.
Yeah, but then when you
and even if
item, in the Vedanta, we have 3 stages. First is the reformative, then scholastic, and then modern. So in the context of the modern, we should not give any importance to the limitation of a person being blind.
It is not, we are not telling anything about physical blindness. It is not a physical blindness. It is not it is the intelligence. The intelligence not able to understand, that is the blindness. That's the blindness. The dull intelligence which cannot understand this difference, that is the blindness. And
that's clear. It's clear.
Intelligence not being able to understand, like the blind leading the blind.
Like
It's not talking about you are in the intelligent person is blind or anything. Like the blind leading the blind means you are not able to lead properly. So the who is not intelligent enough.
That's right. So I would rather say ignorant. Ignorance.
No.
But you cannot change what is in the Upanishad.
Because
that is what I'm saying. The reformative state has moved to the modern by changing a lot.
That might change, but the Shruti will remain the same. Even if it 50,000 years back, afterwards if you come, Sri Krishna has read it. And if it was wrong, Sri Krishna would have changed it. Sri Krishna has read the Upanishads. He, especially Katha Upanishad. In the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, you can see him quoting left and right Katha Upanishad.
That's right.
So when Sri Krishna has not done it, I don't think I have got that audacity to change it. No. It is Ashra Vakya.
And this is spiritual class, and you don't have to take that.
No, this is not political.
Yeah.
Because modern context we have to
It's all
follow.
about, they're just talking about the ignorance and darkness. When
That's
someone's into ignorance and darkness.
Yeah, that is what I
No
meant to
one's
say.
just trying to go into the physical attributes of the person or
That's
being
exactly what
in
I'm saying. It's better to use
No,
that ignorance.
that's what she preached. That's what I could get it.
Yeah,
Not that she was trying to be
I got
ignorant.
that too.
We have in Christianity too.
Yes.
Christianity too. That's very common to
Yes.
mind that part of mind.
And
So people are used to hearing that. It's not-
And not only that,
they're not-
this is called as Vedas, and I have no right to change it. No, I can't change it. Ashra Vakya. Even if there is a grammatical mistake in the Upanishads, we can't change. Even the scholars, however great they may be grammarians, they can't change because these words have come through the intuition of the rishis. This is more than Gita. Upanishad is more than Gita. So we have no right. Krishna wouldn't touch it because it is Shruti, Vedamata. So we go with all humility, with all holiness, and just listen humbly to what the rishis tell. Whatever might be our modern concepts, we cannot undo what they have said. Thank you.
We have to wind up here. So thank you to all who have come in person today and those who joined us via Zoom and those who will view this whole session via YouTube later. And just a few quick announcements. We have the weekly yoga class this Thursday morning from 10 to 11:15 a.m. here in Vedanta Hall. Next Friday night, we're having the fortnightly discussion on Bhagavad Gita, which is led by Gayatri Pranaji, and that you can attend either in person or via Zoom. Next Sunday, we have the monthly talk on Gospel of Shyam Krishna. Gayatri Pranaji will be giving that talk. And we have donation plate there, donation box up the back. But furthermore, we'll be having the next talk in this series will be on 13th of June. So that'll be continuing on in the second chapter of the Katha Upanishad. So you're welcome to attend that. So thank you.